All right, we should be live right now. It's been quite a while since my last stream, probably about a month. I had to hit some bumpy roads in my personal life and had to take care of some stuff. So, well, here we are. And now we are prepping for my evaluation. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going to be using this little handy dandy highlighter tool, you know, let's change that color. Actually, let's go to light mode. There we go. That's easier to see. It's a little handy dandy. No, we want the yellow. And that way, and then I can save the page and then basically create a whole system where for my evaluation video, I can pull up each page that I've saved that's already been highlighted. That way, it's easier for people to follow along. And I can do this with also the Blue Letter Bible, which I'll be going through and sort of highlighting things and saving pages. That way, I'll have more visuals for people as for my evaluation video. Because my first one, I didn't have any visuals. It was just me talking to the camera, which is all great and all, but I had some people like, dang, I wish I had my Bible with me well during, while I watched the video. I was like, well, I can kind of provide that, and I can do one better than that. I can highlight the parts that I'm talking about, or have them already highlighted and then sort of, go through them. So, yeah. So let's see here. So obviously that was just to kind of give an example of what I'm going to be using. So for today, I'm going to be going through my Egyptian history because that's going to be kind of part one of the evaluation is sort of all right, let's look at the background that everything is taking place. You know what I mean? So we're going to be looking at Egypt, what's going on in Egypt during this time, and it also highlights certain things where it's like, that seems relatable to what the Bible is talking about here. So let me get to my own notes. That way I can kind of. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. And potentially I might try to add certain clips from different YouTube videos that I watched. Um, and then give my commentary because some of the things that they said, I don't know if I'll be able to really find exactly that specific thing in the wiki. So, we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll just use the wiki because I'm do want to try to streamline this and like I do want to put my best foot forward with all this, but there's always a time management here, trying to balance how much time it takes for me to make these videos with, if I'm going to spend another couple hours on my prepping my evaluation, it better be worth it essentially. If it's just to like chase down some like little goose chase, little tidbit information, it might not be worth it. All right. So starting with, let's see, is this 12th dynasty? Dynasty of Egypt. Okay. So let's go through and sort of see what we got going on that correlates to, because I watched some many YouTube videos by History with CY. Um, and I took many notes while going through all the different dynasties because we're covering roughly about 500-ish years, a little further actually. So that's, many different dynasties that I went over to try to find interesting details. And I did. I mean, there's a lot going on in Egypt during this time. And thankfully, it's a good thing it was Egypt and not, say, Germany during this time or Gaul or something, because there's not wasn't much writing going on there with contemporary sources. It'd just be like, well, who knows? But the Egyptians probably for this time period have the most writing available. probably, or at least top 5, from what I understand. So that definitely helps with corroborating, um, lining up the Bible with where the Israelites are at the time. Okay, all right, 12th dynasty of Egypt. All right, let's see. Yes, we want to go through the different monarchs, I believe. Yeah, because the dynasty is far more than just established 1991 to 1802. Hold on. So we have this Doge. All right, I started with. All right, successor. We're looking for, I think, around here. So where we want to start with Senusret, Senusret the first, or was it Might have been this. Oh wait, no, that's going. Might have been this Doge right here. Maybe something about Hold on. Am I at the right spot in my own? Un momento. Hmm, yeah. Wait a minute. Did I go backwards in my notes? Oh no. Might have started somewhere and then I kind of was like, let's back up. Let me see here. Maybe I did start at that point. Okay. I swear I took notes on the time and place when Joseph arrived, but that might have been for my Genesis evaluation because that's when Joseph gets there, and that does sort of play a role into leading up into the book of Exodus and the beginning, and also that gap between when Genesis ends and Exodus begins is about like 400 years ish, you know. Hence why, looking at what took place from the Egyptian perspective is quite helpful because the Bible just doesn't cover it. Hundreds of years, just no, the Israelites don't mention anything about that, about what took place. So, you know, let's see here. Do do do. I am I'm at a loss. I swear I was looking over my notes yesterday and I was like, okay, yeah, good, I have that written down. Where did I write that down? My gosh, silliness. Um, anyway, I guess we're just gonna, okay, let's see here. All right, guess we'll just wing it. Anything, because if I have it written, then I know what I'm looking for with each, going through the wiki. That's the point of having these notes written down so that I'm not going in here blind like I feel like I am right now. Oh goodness. Maybe it was maybe it was this Doge. Um, yeah, here we go, here we go, here we go. Okay, so doodle-doo, break out the highlighter. Um, mm, okay, maybe not. Structure, doodle-doodle-doo. Assassination. Okay. Oh no. It's interesting. This seems a little too early for what I'm looking at here, but let's see if there's anything of interest. Doo, doo, doo. Mm. I'm not seeing anything really stands out. I swear, what is going on here? Hmm. Okay. Children as fast as possible. Children, early life, reign, ascension, monuments, court. Gateway. Okay. Hmm. I guess one thing we can some hmm should have been around when so what I'm looking okay, this is the dude. This is the dude. Good gracious. I was like, am I losing my mind? I swear I know I read this in the wiki as well. You know what I'm saying? Alright, took a great deal of interest in the Oasis region and began work on extensive irrigation from Bar Yusuf through to like da da da. So this right here is like potential of like maybe Joseph had something to do with this. Maybe we're not sure. It's not conclusive evidence from what I understand, but the idea of prepping for 7 years of famine, you're gonna build more irrigation systems to sort of create a surplus of crops leading up to, you know what I mean, leading up to that famine, you know what I mean? So the idea that they would, okay, well, how do we prep for this famine that Joseph is claiming is going to happen? Well, let's create more irrigation. Let's create more um farmable land. You know what I mean? So this is in and around the time period. They don't give normally they give like a date of like here to here, like he died in 1878. Where uh don't say what year to what year. Co-regencies, da 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 da. Um, yeah, blah. Okay, maybe there's some confusion on what exact years he reigned from, but this is in and around, and also you have here we go. You also have potential Canaanites moving into the area at the same time, which again lines up with Joseph coming into Egypt and bringing his buddies, bringing his fam. You know what I mean? So reign ushered in a period of peace and prosperity with no recorded military campaigns and religious trade between Egypt and the Near East around the same time. Ways. That's Hyksos. Yeah. And first known instance of the name Hyksos. So, bada boom. There we go. Um, which this again lines up with the fact that this is sort of like, oh, look, during this time period, a lot of people from what are considered West Asiatic, which again most of the time means Canaanites Could also mean people from the Mesopotamian area, could mean people potentially even from Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, even potentially like Midian, which is like northwestern Saudi Arabia today. You know, so that those kind of line up, which is evidence to suggest that the Bible is giving at at least a roughly accurate account of when the Israelites moved into the region, moved into Egypt. Which that's significant. It's like 5 points to the Bible for being accurate. All right. Excuse me. Doodle-doo. Okay, let's see. Anything else? Dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun. Curious if Avaris is mentioned. No, it's not. Okay. Might go to the wiki for Avaris and do some highlights on that as something to be brought up. Um, yeah, I think those are the two main things that I want to highlight from this. You know, a lot of stuff is going on, but I got, my focus is, from the Book of Exodus is my focus. So I'm trying to stay focused on my goal. Okay. All right, so now I can save this so I can pull it up already highlighted. Because if I refresh the page, I lose all my highlights. So I can't it's not like I could save, bookmark this, and then come back and the highlights will still be there. So to essentially save the web page to my hard drive. All right, let's do that. Okay. Um, Alright, let's do. Let's label this as. Because if I put it under 12th Dynasty, there might be more. Well, alright, we'll do. Yeah, we could do. Yeah, that's fine. That works. Alright, so that is saving. Now, yeah, I want to go to Avaris. This is important. Okay. And then we could probably do the Hyksos as well. Because that's also, we're trying to, for people who have no idea what the Hyksos are. I didn't know what the heck the Hyksos were before I started researching this, so I'm sure very little people are going to be aware. you know, it's like Avaris, and then blah, 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 was the Hyksos capital of Egypt. Da, da, da. Yeah. All right. And then that's important. Yeah, that's, when it was captured. But its position at the hub of Egypt's Delta Emporia made it a major capital suitable for trade. Yeah. Which is kind of interesting, like why wasn't like say Pelusium all the way in the east, like why wasn't that a more valuable trade hub? But maybe they started trade and then it hit Avaris, and maybe Avaris was just, you know, I don't know. Who knows? But I mean, if Pelusium was far more valuable and lucrative in the trade business, it probably would be more important and, you know, maybe that should have been made the capital, but Avaris nonetheless became the capital. And it's important to note that that is in the area of Goshen. And that's also mentioned in the Bible of the area that the Israelites settled was Goshen, and Avaris is in Goshen. So that's the connection there. And it was settled by Hyksos, which are, people from predominantly Canaan, but not always, just Western Asiatics, because Egyptians, boy, did they just like y'all be known as Hyksos. We don't care what your actual, oh, how many tribes are there? We can't learn all your tribal names. We're just gonna lump you all together and leave it at that. Especially if they weren't like necessarily, if they were like a great power like the Mitanni, that's where things are a little different, you know. But since the Canaanite tribes and were just pretty much just at the time, from my understanding, a bunch of city states, not really united. United in culture predominantly, but not really a united entity. Which is interesting. They never seem to, I guess they kept getting caught in between Egypt and, you know, against and the empires that rose up in Turkey, such as like the Hurrians and the Hittites. And so for quite some time, the Canaanite tribes, city-states just could never really sort of unify all that well until the Israelites. Then that didn't last too long. I mean, it was they had a decent run. All right, let's see. Anything else? Excavations. Okay. Oh, whoops. Okay. The busy harbor catering to over 300 ships during a trading season. That's impressive. Interesting, interesting. I don't know if that actually plays any role into what we're getting at here. Um, oh, at a temple, right? Okay. It's been on like, oh, this is, all right. Okay, so that's much earlier. All right. Interesting. All right. Yeah, this is gonna come into play for sure. See, the interesting thing is if we look at the city, it kind of covers a long time period. You know what I mean? Um, to where it might, I mean, maybe I should bring up Avaris early and then I can kind of be like, ah, yes, and then, remember when we talked about Avaris earlier? Here's where it comes into play, Here's what's going on. Because this is going to give more of a brief overview of what's happening in the city and why it's important to this story. Um, do 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 do. Because this stuff, like, when it was recaptured, when it broke away as its own political entity, when the Hyksos invaded, all that snazzy jazz will be covered when I'm covering the other Egyptian pharaohs. So, I mean, maybe I could highlight it here, but I feel like the main point is to establish and show, that this is in the land of Goshen where the Israelites settled, and that this became the capital of a Canaanite invasion of Egypt, as you'll see many years down the line. And that's significant in that then the Egyptians recapture Avaris and Goshen from the Canaanites, where the Israelites are. And then 100 years after that, roughly 100, 150, depending on how you read it, um, that period right there is by logical and common sense accounts, that's when the Israelites actually are enslaved because they are, defeated in war essentially by the Egyptians and then enslaved. And then they're oppressed and all this stuff. All right. Okay, that's significant. Yeah, it's like dated to the Mosaic or New Kingdom period suggests that a large part of the city's Semitic population remained in residence following its reconquest by the Egyptians. So that's significant. That's something to show. Um, Pharaohs of the set up capital Thebes and complex. Anubis was briefly abandoned by areas such as Temple of Seth. Doodle doo. Okay, that's interesting. We'll just toss that in there. All right. Mhm. All right. Okay. Good little synopsis. All right. Mm, mm. Interesting tidbit. Hadad. Huh. I didn't know that. Hmm. Temple District to the Canaanite. Ash- This is interesting. Actually, I don't recall anybody really mentioning these specific like key factors about Avaris. So this is kind of like this is news to me, which is nice. Uh, it's largely in the world. That's kind of wild. To 250 HA. What the hell is 250? 250,000? The heck is HA? What are we doing here? One moment. Hold on. What is this talking about? Ah, per hectare. 250 per hectare. Why are we using hectare? Gosh, I don't even know what a heck. Is that 10 acres? Is that what a hectare is? Uh, um, the fuck? Who uses hectare? God darn it. Alright, what's that per mile? Per mile? Conversion? Somebody convert this, please. 64,750 people per square mile? Is that correct? Two per, um, that seems wild. I don't know if that's correct. Interesting. We'll just throw it in there. Um, we're just seeing the world. I had not heard anybody talk about that. That's interesting. Okay. All right. Ours along with Syria also. So, okay. Okay. I don't know if that really matters. The Minoan connection, I don't think really matters for our purposes all that much. Okay. I think we got everything that we're looking for. Um. Cited Tel El Daba. Where's Tel El Daba? Yeah, what? Why are we talking about Tel El Daba? And it's not even like, the heck is this place? Is this like a section of Avaris? We gotta do a little googly doogly, huh? Alright, let's see here. What the heck? Alright. see what we got. Okay. Looks like it is in the area, because it's like on the modern day map, it's like south of P. Ramesses or in the area of P. Ramesses. I guess P. Ramesses is kind of like a more overall regional term. Okay. Okay, right. So he's showing that 1 point as well. Trade. Okay. I don't know how they, because last time I remember watching one documentary that said that Avaris was generally home to 20 to 30,000 people. Like that's kind of how many people it could, but maybe that was just one section of the city. Um, yeah, I don't recall anybody ever mentioning that it is believed that it was the largest city in the world from 1670 to 1557. Um, yeah, not sure. Huh, how they came or who came to that conclusion, why that's not been mentioned by other people. But hey, this is Wikipedia, baby. You get the good and the bad. It's like I just very much appreciate how concise the format is of Wikipedia compared to like tracking down 10 different articles. It's like, oh, etymology, excavations, history gives you a nice, concise kind of nuggets of information, which is what we're looking for. All right, let's save this. Do, do, do. All right, we'll put this under ours. All right, next, go to the Hyksos. All right, so knock out. We're gonna have all these Wikipedia pages to talk about for the evaluation, also so people can follow along. So I'm looking forward to this. My evaluation of Exodus being head and shoulders as far as presentation is concerned compared to my Genesis evaluation, which I still thought I did pretty good on. You know, just I'm also somebody who likes more visual aids, so this is kind of me understanding people who are like me will also appreciate this, adding these visual aids. So yeah, it means rulers of foreign lands. Hyksos. Doot. All right. Yeah, that's important. All right. And they might have been the rulers of the 16th dynasty as well. That's a little, or no, 14th dynasty. Yeah, 14th dynasty. All right. Doodle doo. Yeah, predominantly of Levantine origin, which is essentially Canaan. Levantine, or yeah, you can see on here, Levantine, Levant. It's Canaan, but it's also a little bit out, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, modern day Israel and Palestine, that even potentially peoples from the Sinai, maybe, but I think they had different term for people like from the Sinai and what have you. But, sometimes they're all kind of grouped in. Yeah. Da, da, da. Yeah. So all that's good information. I'm curious. Hold on. Okay. I just want to know, like, when if I put my cursor over something, that way I want to know that's not blocking anything. That's good, I think. As long as I keep my cursor at the start of each one. Okay. Alright. That way I can be like, this is where we are. Right below that icon, essentially. I might make it for the presentation, I might make my cursor visible. Maybe I should just do that in general, even for these videos. Um, yep, first time. Ooh, Yep, sure. As well as the Khopesh. They introduced the Khopesh? I, and the composite bow? I don't know about that. Khopesh is like significantly it's like the Egyptian sword. If if it was introduced, you would think that it would have been known as more of a Canaanite or Levantine weapon, and then the Egyptians adopted it. Why would the sword style originated in Western Asia? Really? Oh gosh, we're not. This isn't a. This doesn't matter to our. Does not matter for our purposes. Interesting, interesting. That there's an actual like kind of debate on where the Khopesh comes from. Yeah, they coexisted. Yeah, I mean that's yeah. Mm, yep, yep, yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm not the I'm gonna throw it in there, but this is Josephus is mostly just kind of riffing off of other people's work. Um, Also this all the way in the first century AD, you know, and historians back then only had so much to go off of. I don't think he had. Was the Library of Alexandria still around then? Or had it already been destroyed? I can't remember. Um, Dang it. I like flicking the head of my pen and they always break and then I'm always so sad, but I keep doing it because like click, click. Ah, well. Another one bites the dust. Let's see. Um, yeah, I mean, the thing is that the Israelites were, you know, a tiny little tribe of the Canaanites when they, of Canaanite origin when they moved into Avaris. I don't think that the Hyksos and Israelites are just one and the same, at all. So this is where with Josephus I'm like, I don't think so. Yeah. Even Manetho, I'm pretty sure he was around, yeah, 3rd century BC. Yeah, so he's still much later. Um, Race bore the generic name of Hyksos, which means shepherd king. Hick in the sacred language denotes king, and so dialect shepherd or shepherds. Those. Um, I'm gonna mention this because here's the thing, like I'm sure there are many shepherds, shepherding I believe was a very common practice for Western Asiatics in general, you know. So there's something there, but I think he's also kind of again, he's borrowing from two hic from the in the sacred language, now it's king, and sos in the common dialect. So he's kind of mixing different languages without any it's a neat attempt. He's trying to make sense of it, which, understandable. I back then, if I was in his shoes, I'd probably do the same thing. Well, we know that the Israelites are shepherds and Saul's, and this, if you put that together, you get king shepherd or shepherd kings, and that all tracks with and da 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 da. So that makes complete sense. Why? Like I understand why he came to that conclusion. That doesn't mean it's the right conclusion, but it's something to bring up just as a like, maybe. Um, I don't even know how to pronounce this. What is this? Pronounce it Hickswats? Hickhospit? Hickhospit? As Hickhospis? Speech? I have no idea, dude. I don't know how to read these little markings. It's like a completely different language. Oh god. Which was then understood to mean Lord of Shepherds. Clear if this translation was found in Manetho. A meaning translation of Manetho in Manetho. The late gives the correct translations. Foreign kings. Yeah. So I don't know. Debatable. Alright. Yeah, the importance isn't what the for my I'm getting lost in the sauce again. I don't think this is important for my purposes. What's important is who the Hyksos were and how they relate to Genesis, or sorry, the Bible, Genesis and Exodus, and where we're going with all this. I'm getting lost in the sauce. Okay, that's not important. Doesn't matter, doesn't matter. Um, doodle 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 doo. Okay, okay. I find it interesting how it's like Wikipedia sometimes is the most like academic, like comment section disagreements because it's almost like you'll have like two sentences that claim one thing, and then the third sentence will be like, however, blah 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 says da 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 da, and then there'll be like two sentences supporting the other theory, and then it'll go back and forth, and it's quite amusing. The most academic disagreements in the most like informative, you know, trying to be like we're not shit posting each other here, but there are disagreements happening between the different people that are adding information to this, and it's quite interesting. Cite your sources. Okay. So, what is interesting is that even the Hyksos kings or pharaohs, whatever you want to say, they adopted the term Hyksos. Like this is like right here. Like they're fine with the term. Like yeah, we're Hyksos. That's what we are. Like let it be known. We own this shit. Excuse my language. My channel ain't for kids. We own this shit. But I know some people they don't care for it. I'll try to watch my tongue. Yeah, so they incorporated the way you spell it in hieroglyphs into their own seals, which is, shows a certain mentality that they had. Like, yeah, you want to call us Hyksos? Well, that works for us. That's fine by us. Um, hmm. All right, origins. Yeah, I mean, I should any kind of like scribes. I mean, that's significant. That is significant, and the Jews are mentioned. The Israelites. These are the Jews. That makes something to look at. That even people so far into the future are like, oh, you know, the Hyksos, that's the Israelites right there. Well, here we go. They understood it back then, we're understanding it today. It ain't new. For me, most personal names indicate that they spoke a Western Semitic language, may be called for convenience sake Canaanites. Yeah. Indicate that. Yep. Yep. Personal names shows that they are Canaanites. Again, just building this like, look, here we have this is when the Israelites moved in, these are their peeps, other Canaanites, which, you know, you're gonna have potentially more in common with people who speak a similar language and have us understand your gods, your religion, your culture, the way you like to just build your house, the food you like, how you like to prepare your food, all this kind of stuff. The Israelites are Canaanites. So anybody even though other Canaanites are moving in, they're going to have more in common with the Israelites than the Israelites are going to have in common with the Egyptians. And that's something that I'm trying to get at as well for why certain things happen the way they did. Could indicate range backloads. Mm-hmm. Most Pepi as a chieftain of. Hmm. Okay. This will be interesting for later, you know. Living forever. I like how people even back. I'm just gonna highlight this just because it's amusing. We're gonna live forever, and it's like Son of Rock, living forever. People have been claiming they're gonna live forever for thousands of years. It's very amusing to me. And you know what? They might be right. Include, but not because they're unique. Including newly. Okay. Yep. Associated with some Egyptian inscriptions. Okay. Yeah, I don't. They keep sort of. It's like, yeah, I think we get it at this point. Currently favor a northern Levantine origin of the Hyksos. Okay. Oh, northern. I think. Pretty sure they're all just. Whatever. All right. Simple origins. All right. That's interesting. Mm. The northern region of southern Levant. Okay. I mean, that's. Well, this is interesting. Oh, we missed a spot. Uh, why didn't it do the thing? What's going on here? Come on. Uh, what is happening? Alright. Is there a limit on this? I don't think so. Earlier, I marked like all. Why is that happening? Whatever. Okay. Alright. Might be hurrying. Have been rejected. Well, that's because the names of gosh, this is a extremely long. Holy smokes. Good glaciers. I think it's time for me to take a cigarette break. Alright. It is time. Un momento, por favor. Alright. Alright. Be back in about 5 minutes. All right. Hmm. Due to just, I don't really need to go super deep into the Hyksos. I mean, the whole point of this is just establishing that this corroborates when the Israelites arrived and also justification for their enslavement and oppression after Egypt reconquered the land that where the Israelites were, essentially upholding and potentially helping the Hyksos take over and take charge and stay in charge. So, um, I think, um, I think this initial section that I've highlighted is good enough. Um, I don't need to go into the full ins and outs of this, I don't think. Again, how much time compared to, you know, am I trying to squeeze a stone at this point, you know? Like, okay, maybe religion might be an interesting aspect. Let's see. Um, ah, and that's interesting. That was mentioned in the other article as well, so you know, far as early as the 14th century, which again, interesting. Says Aristotle found depicting the pharaohs. Weather god Baal. Yeah, that's classic Baal iconography right there, which is substantial, especially for, it's a certain confrontation between Baal and Yahweh later on in the Bible. So that's seems significant. Yeah. Hathor, Sobek, and Wadjet. Not the. Oh, look who it is. All right. All right. So biblical connections. Yeah, well, I mean, this section might be what we're where we might find most help. Yeah, we already covered that. All right, that's fine. I don't put a lot of stock too much into Josephus or Manetho. Like, I put some stock into it that it's mentioned, but not like too much. That Manetho does not mention it was a perceived account of the expulsion. Alright. Yeah, Manetho has this whole strange thing about lepers and stuff, which is I don't know. I don't even know if that's in like the Egyptian record. I mean, Manetho is claiming to be quoting Egyptian records. It's just that if we had those Egyptian records, we wouldn't need to quote Manetho. See what I'm saying? So, would have been nice if we had those original records that Manetho is claiming to be reporting on. But I don't. If we did, we wouldn't need him as a source. Um, yeah, this is the whole strange thing of Manetho claims that this priest with these leopards is actually Moses, and that's where it's all like, Akhenaten. Yeah, or like doesn't really hold water in my opinion. Majority of modern scholars do not believe that the Egyptian story elements can be demonstrated with historical method. I don't know what that actually means. I mean, I know what they're saying, I just don't know how to apply it. Which story elements? The Egyptian story elements can be demonstrated with historical methods. Which part of the story elements? Like the plagues? Sure, yeah, I don't think we have um you know, sure. Attempted to tie the narrative of the Hyksos period to the Exodus. Well, the Hyksos period happens, like 100, 150 years. As far as like the Hyksos ruling Egypt, yeah, I think that's like the precursor that gives the justification for the enslavement of the Israelites. So that ties in actually quite nicely, you know, to the Hyksos period. I think it's kind of, you know, depends on to tie the which narrative. That's the thing, which part of the narrative that you could take different angles. You could try to claim that the Israelites were the Exodus was when the Egyptians retook Avaris, and then then maybe Moses was a character that had to convince Pharaoh to let them go, and maybe that oppression was only for a couple months after they had reconquered and were starting to enslave them, and it only took a couple months, so it's right there at the end of the Hyksos period, it just depends on where you're trying to tie in the narrative, but it does tie in. It's You just have to use some common sense, in my opinion. May have been wholly or partially inspired by the expulsion of the Hyksos. See, when was that? When was this specific expulsion that they're talking about? That's the thing. Um, maybe. I mean, maybe. Yeah, when is this expulsion? I don't know if they're gonna use the same word, expulsion, but we can try. Expulsion. Um, when they say expulsion, are they talking about defeat? Alright. Um, so it's mainly and their expulsion is only from identification with, yeah, I'm looking for. after the expulsion. When was this supposed? See, that's the thing. It's like people are talking about the expulsion of the Hyksos. Can somebody give me a what is their date for the expulsion of the Hyksos? I just need to Google it. Like when were the Hyksos expelled? Yeah. All right. Oh, that's so they're claiming so at least the AI overview. Um, the Hyksos were expelled from Egypt around 1550 to 1570. So basically, they're saying when they were defeated, they were expelled. That doesn't mean, but we have evidence that Vars was still occupied, doesn't look like it, and still occupied by Canaanites. So yeah, I'm sure the armies and what have you, like the upper echelons, those that could, probably fled into Canaan, which might have included some Israelites, you know? Okay. These wild numbers, 480,000 men. Back then, that's insane. It's insanity to me. Maybe 48,000. But, I mean, people are. Back then, it was, as far as I'm aware, it was quite common to, in writing, exaggerate your military strength and how many men you had at your disposal. Because who's going to tell you otherwise? Who's going to go and count? And if they try to be like, oh, this is a fraction when it's like your whole army. This is only a fifth of what I have at my disposal. The other four fifths, they're down in Thebes right now. You'll have to travel there. Then you get there, it's like, oh, rest are, they're on campaign in Nubia. uh, so yeah, population numbers that, especially for military might, was often exaggerated, from what I understand, to intimidate those abroad. Okay, I think we're good on this. Mm, I think the trade aspect is important. Oh gosh. Um, lapis lazuli. It always sounds so like just over the top fancy. Oh, it's lapis lazuli. We have silver, turquoise, you know. Oh, what's that gem? Emerald, sapphire, lapis lazuli. Oh, you're so fancy. You're so fancy. Oh, so is the. Okay. Yeah, the Hyksos and the Egyptians they did not like each other. When I say Hyksos, I don't mean Israelites, but Israelites were labeled as Hyksos by the Egyptians. by my understanding. Um, mhm. I mean, they were known for their many colored coats, or whatever you want to call them, robes, or shirts. These are supposedly Hyksos that we're looking at. And what I was reading there was about the coat of many colors. Well, if everybody had one, then what made Joseph so special? uh, Maybe it was even more intricate than the others. Had more many colors. um, yeah, I don't view um 15th dynasty as the time that Joseph appeared. I don't think so. I think he might have established sort of a precursor hundreds of years in advance that like, you know, where in Avaris, maybe the Israelites slash Canaanites were kind of left to they were allowed more autonomy um due to Joseph being just having a showing himself to be a good governor, and that sort of gave them more sort of just autonomy in general, and that eventually led to um that area seceding from Egypt during troubling times when the strength of Egypt started to wane, local governorship kind of that had sort of been left to their own devices for quite some time was like, well, if they can't, they're just falling into disarray. We should just be our own thing. We should just govern ourselves. Why do we need them? Can raise our own armies. um, as history is quite wrong-headed. What? To read the Joseph story as history is quite wrong-headed. That's a funny way to put it. Quite wrong-headed, I dare say. Yeah, I don't know if there's any historical evidence as far as like, here's the thing. Due to the fact that, again, Genesis and Exodus were probably written way after the fact. Certain things like, the Egyptians that abhorred shepherds and what have you, that might not be true, and it might just be something that got thrown in there over time, or who knows, maybe back in the day, maybe they did, and the Egyptians grew out of it. Look, cultures can have moments where, like, look, American culture, especially in the past 100 years, have had different groups of people that we didn't care for and would talk bad about, and then we grow out of it. So maybe there was a time when shepherds were looked down upon in Egypt, and then the Egyptians grew out of it, or changed their mind. And then maybe 400 years later, then they're back to like not looking down on shepherds. I don't know. Oh, I can't believe that that never happened in Egypt. Egyptians would never abhor shepherds. This is
preposterous. I can't believe that they would even suggest this. That is sheer proof that the rest of it will throw the baby out with the bathwater. Because they mentioned that they didn't like shepherds. I can't believe it. I like how that's used as evidence when there's other things that could, the fact that like Joseph and even his like Egyptian name doesn't show up in any Egyptian records. Da 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 da. You know, Joseph, the story of Joseph it might not. Maybe Joseph wasn't as big of a deal as the Bible is making him out to be. But it does seem to relate to a certain event as far as the irrigation of the Nile during the time period that roughly corresponds to when the Semitic peoples are moving into the region, which lines up with, I mean, I get it. Like, yes, we can't prove that we don't have definitive proof that Joseph was in any way, shape, or form in some kind of governor position or advisor position. Not to my knowledge, or else why isn't somebody in here going, "Oh my gosh, here's the proof, man. We got the proof." Why doesn't Joseph have his own page? Why isn't this highlighted? That's kind of weird. He probably does. He should. Yeah. Hold on. I first suggest that the story fits better with the Beyonce in the 12th dynasty, particularly with the xenophobic policy of Pharaoh. Da da da. And I mean, it's not to read it as history. It's to read it as potential history or an attempt at historical accounting. Whether that attempt was successful, that is what we can debate about. Mm, yeah, that's well. The hold on for the events of Genesis. The events talk about the Israelites moving into Egypt. Are we just gonna ignore that they kind of line up in that way? We just I don't know why nobody's like been like, you know, if you look at when the Hyksos are known to be moving into Avaris, that kind of lines up with what the Bible says when the Israel. I don't know. I'm ranting right now, but we're having a good time doing it, and that's what's important. Mm. Mhm. Mm. Yeah, I don't also the archaeological record is what I've watched many archaeologists talk about how like what survived from say 2000 BC or 1500 BC is like a pond compared to an ocean. Like what we have available is like a pond compared to the ocean of what all took place, of what all was manufactured, of what all like if you go back to 1500 BC, you would see all these things. All this stuff that and what made it all the way to today into the archaeological record? A pond. We have a pond. That's what we're working with. There's a lot that is missing from the archaeological record that we'll just know. A lot of it, sadly, it's just gone. Either eroded by time, disassembled, deteriorated from natural deterioration, completely reused, like wood was reused into other materials and then maybe turned into firewood, like uh
or just there's no because the people weren't writing it down, or if they were writing it on papyrus, which deteriorates without proper and intensive care. It deteriorates, what, after about 400 years without proper, even with proper care, papyrus can deteriorate. So it's like, okay, I think we're good on this. All right, I think we're Gucci on this for our purposes, because we'll get more into this as we go through the dynasties and we actually look at the dynasties where the Hyksos were in charge. We'll get a lot better information. Okay. All right. All right, saves a page. Bada boom, bada bing. Wait for that to fully save just to be sure. Alright, perfect. Alright, so we've done Hyksos, done Avaris. Let's see. Alright, I think we're good to go back to the dynasties now. Okay. I can't remember. I'll have to hold on. Let's get back to the 12th dynasty and we kind of move from there. Dynasty, dynasty. Okay. This boyo. Okay. Right here. There. I'm actually shocked. I'm in my tests before the stream. This did not take place. That's interesting. Hold on. Let's go back. What? Really? Refresh. I mean, I'll take it. Okay. I wasn't expecting that. We're saving it anyway, just to be sure. I don't trust this. Like, if I close out of Google Chrome and reload, I don't know if that'll be there. But hey, there you go. It's nice that it's still there. All right, I don't think. Let me go to my notes. I feel like I just jumped. Wait, I could have sworn. Hold on. That I watched a that I watched and took notes on the dynasty before. I thought I watched on the 14th. Maybe I did. Yeah, the 14th time. Okay, I did take notes on the 14th dynasty. Okay, good, 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 good. Alright, that's kind of where we're headed. Okay, successor. So we kind of run through this just because I don't recall anything all that significant or anything that I could really draw from taking place until then. Um, Bill Anthony's rain portrait. Biblos. Mm-hmm. All right. That's pretty cool looking. Wish that was a better photo. You know what I mean? Like you're a freaking museum. Take a better photo. No, maybe it's Wikipedia. Maybe they only. No, I've seen Wikipedia photos that are like you can zoom in and look at the grains. Like why are these like you can do better than that. Give us clear photos of these things. All right. All right. Yeah, I don't think anything all that significant. Because also, here's the thing. Due to the fact that the Bible just doesn't cover any of this period of time, there's nothing to really connect to unless I'm like, there might be something here and there that might be like, maybe there's some mention of Avaris or maybe like something happening in Lower Egypt or something, some crap like that. Yeah, but then we're just on a wild goose chase. And I don't care to chase geese around. They're obnoxious. All right, let's see. 12th Dynasty still, because we're heading to um 13th Dynasty. All right, let's go to the dynasties. All right, 14th. Um, that's where we pick. That's where the story really kind of picks up. I swear these dates I'm looking at right now look a little bit different, don't they? Wait a minute. No, it's not 1650. That's what I recall. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, 1725 to 1650 is what I remember. But this is like 1705 to 1690 and then 1674 to 1535? Who knows? Who knows what's going on here? Somebody knows. I don't know why the dates here and the dates there. Welcome to Wikipedia. Shoot. I mean, we can see what took place. 13th Dynasty, which is significant because things start fraying, you know, like around this time period, at this point. Yeah, like rain, who knows? Something's going on in Egypt that leads to a breakaway state, you know. This looks like the last dude that had anything really substantial because when you go, well, despite the fact that they're not sure about the time frame. They give them like 3 years, yeah. Theories. The fact that we just have theories kind of tells you a lot compared to what kind of information we were getting beforehand. The fact that's that's a decently impressive, statue. Nothing that really super indicates that bad things were happening or just things weren't going very well. Um, yeah, the early intermediate period. hmm Turn Yeah, why did Egypt decline? I can't recall why. I'm not. Again, my focus isn't necessarily on why Egypt declined, only that it did decline and then arose um Canaanite rulers in Avaris over a portion of Egypt. Like that's more of what matters for my purposes. Yeah, it's still very fascinating. Okay. So we have this stooge and this. That's right. Turn and this. Yeah, this we have like basically no information on what they accomplished, what was going on. This is just like a black hole, which is unfortunate. Egypt just kind of falls apart. Who was like the last? Again, look at this person. This is the best we have. This is what they got. Seems like they have a bit more. I don't know. There is no evidence. Like this is all just like what is happening in Egypt over these years is wild. And it seems like rulers are like 1777 to 1775s. Are they? Is this like some weird situation where they're trying, where it's like 2 years, 3 years, 2 years? Are they killing each other? Like, are they assassinating each other? Is this like a moment where they're having some strange 7 months, 17, 3 years, 2 years, 3 years, 2 years? What's going on? Are they just taking turns? I'll do 3 years. Then you, oh, we did four. Oh, that's a bit greedy. I think you should have only done three to keep things consistent. Or two. 3 years. 3 years. 2 years. 2 years. 3 years. 2 years. Um, 2 years. What I'm trying to say is like an elective. Is this like Did they experiment with like an elective monarchy? Is that what I'm seeing here? It's the only thing that comes to mind that would make any sense for this. It just doesn't make any real sense. What the heck happened? Like no, like, and it lasted a while. Look at all these peeps. That's my theory. I'm putting forth my theory. Elective monarchy was attempted here. Oh my gosh. This is not consistent enough to who knows, maybe they had elections every year. This person got elected three times once. Okay, three times, twice, three times, twice, twice, once. I got impeached 7 months and then impeached. That's rough. Three times elected, once, twice elected, three times elected, twice elected. Only, oh, look at this. 5 to 7 or 3 years. We're not sure. Minimum 4 years and 3 months. Look at that. Look at you go. Ooh, this boyo. Less than 10 years, but less than 10 years, that's something. Huh, that 4 years. Oh, 11 years, this boyo. Look at him go. 10 years now. Ooh, now we're getting some normalcy. 10 years. Maybe they tried the whole like once every year and then it's like, all right, what if we elect somebody for like 4 years at a time? Or some crap like that. I don't know, dude. I'd have to watch a video. They probably understand what's going on, because I do not. What the heck are these numbers, bro? Anyway, the point of the matter is that Egypt is in disarray. Disarray. So then, Avaris in Goshen, where the Canaanites and Israelites are, kind of break away, form their own state. Like, y'all can't even keep somebody in charge for longer than 2, 3 years, it seems. So, oh, absolute, hold on. Let's go back. Let's see if they, monarchy of some description. Anyway. Mm, any musicals. Let's go here. Okay, let's break out our handy dandy highlighter. Might just show the that other disarray of Egyptian rulers just for funsies. Just like, what's going on here? I'd have to watch a video on it. It's not super important to our what we're trying to get at here. All right. Mm, okay, that's important. So, what the heck is this? Okay. Could have been another important city in the region. Yeah, all this is quite important to really establish um yeah, this is important. Because now you have pharaohs who have like Canaanite, Hyksos, Canaanite, um, and Amorite, which is another Canaanite tribe group, sounding names as the leaders. So it's like, you know, shows that they kind of rose to power and eventually broke away and, you know, though it must be stated, a good amount of this is being pushed by Kim Ryholt. So, or Reholt, or Ryholt, probably Ryholt, I don't know. Riholt, but it does kind of line up. Um, and can vary, but as much as 75 years between authorities. Does get All right, little bit of my confirmation bias coming in right here. Just gotta be honest. A little bit of confirmation bias on my respect. But regardless, um, even if this was more of like just more of an autonomous region that was still considered a part of the Egyptian state, just an area that had more autonomy, and it wasn't yet a breakaway state, by um the 15th dynasty, that completely changes. And that's more substantial, and that is not something that people kind of go, nobody's kind of shuffling their feet about that one. Like that's like, yep, this happened. The Canaanites came in and took over. So if you know if the Hyksos Canaanites, however you want, if the Canaanites in the region in Avaris hadn't taken over by this point, also considering the Semitic names, um, maybe they're just more autonomous. By the time the 15th dynasty comes in, that's when it's like full blown, no doubt about it. Mines. Mm-hmm. Not sure. Who argue the 14th emerged before the mid 13th dynasty. Right. Particularly, they argue that the evidence straddles where the 14th discovered continuously conclusively established that the 14th was only contemporary with the dynasty in the last century. It's like, okay, so just later. I mean, oh, I see. The 1805 BC is what's being contested here. Okay, that's fine. Um, yeah, I think I'll just do and do. Mm, mm. bit more. They argue that the evidence from the Straddles where the 14 dynasty seals have been discovered conclusively establishes the 14 times only confirmed Thursday in the last half century. Where is it? Since after 200 BC. We'll just boom. Again, I don't even know if I need this information because what's more important, I mean, this is important. This is important. Don't get me wrong. This is important. Um, it's just whether it was 1725, it doesn't, for our purposes, it doesn't matter if it's 1805 or 1700 BC. Um, yeah, I mean, it does matter, just not for all purposes, really. You know, you just give those give the possibilities, give the information, just move on. Alright, see if it will prolong. Hmm, have affected. Okay, interesting. Alright, that's fair. Hmm. Wait, what? Trojan creds with as many as 76 kings from. Okay. Also, 0.6 large. Hmm. Okay, that's interesting. Could again could have been a high-ranking official, but um, mm, we'll throw it in there. Thank goodness for this little highlighting tool. Oh, what do you know? It's that time again. The nicotine is calling, calling. Time for a little 5-minute bric-a-brac. All right. See y'all in a bit. Alright, and we're back. And we're back. Just gonna brighten my screen up a tad. Alright. Híjole. Alright, precise borders not known due to its monuments. Alright. Alright, that's significant. Mm-hmm. Okay. Lacuna. Hmm. Any method. Alright. So these are contested, so I'm going to kind of just, let it be. Let it be. Hmm. Alright. Oh my gosh. How do they have so many rulers in such a... Again, are they practicing some form of elective monarchy here? Because this doesn't... Kind of wild. But then again, there was like maybe some plague or famine. It's like, okay, right. Hmm. Alright, I think for our purposes, this is good to glow. Alright. Saves a page. This is... Alright. Interesting, interesting. I mean, what do we know? Okay, there's some stuff here. Maybe I could go through these, see if there's. So I'm trying to stick with it more of a grand overview, unless it's super important to delve deeper. It's just hard to know which one is important to delve deeper in. Just a lot of uncertainty going on, and I'm not one for uncertainty. I prefer certainty over uncertainty 10 out of 10 days, let me tell you. Okay, don't think we're really going to get much from going through all these, because sort of just, just not much here. It's just like stay attestation, chronological position, identity, and that's all you got. That's all we got. People kind of, I don't know, maybe just due to the fact that they weren't building. There's just seems like far more upheaval and nowhere near as much consistency of rulership for projects to be even be constructed. If the next year you're gonna have a different ruler, how do you plan for construction, like big construction projects that probably take years and years to accomplish? Okay, all right, let's just roll into the 15th dynasty. Okay. All right. Okay. Bada boom. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm. Which may have included Cain itself, although the ark sparse. Yeah, says possible. Which you never know. You never know. I believe in Genesis, if I'm not mistaken, at some point, I can't remember if it was Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob, but one of them claimed that, or the Bible claims that they claim. Okay, we're getting a little off the beaten path here. That the promised land was the Nile River to basically the Euphrates. So maybe this is the Israelites attempting to make that a reality, um, through political maneuvering and military conquest, and even requesting military aid from Canaanites abroad to get it done, you know? So, this is a possibility of that, of them trying to enact that. Because, yeah, so that's where, which may have included Cain itself, or at least, close allies potentially. Also described as a Hyksos. Africanus, that's just Sextus. Not Josephus. Wait a minute, Africanus. Sextus Canus. Interesting that he's now okay. Anyway, any musicals. Okay. Important. They never got along with with the Egyptians to the south. Constant conflict. That's interesting. Amumu. Amu. Alright. So you have the Hyksos, but then you have the Amu. People of Avaris in the Nile Delta had their own term. They were special. Especial. Yep, we've covered this, but I'll highlight anyway. Just sometimes you just you gotta nail it home. You gotta just if you keep saying it, people will remember. It'll sink in. Doodle doo. Okay. The conflict continued. For our purposes, we've kind of covered like this is sort of the meat and potatoes of this situation. You know what I mean? Yeah, these Canaanites coming in, Avaris, no conflict. Essentially, they took the Nile Delta without a fight, and then they proceeded to fight the Egyptians back. The you know 13th, maybe the 13th dynasty had ended at this point, but they continued to push the Egyptians back south, and it looks like they were took it without any combat. Interesting. Hmm. Hmm. Maybe they were invited. So, all right. Mm, yeah, so they kept pushing south. The whole of Egypt, that's not true, because they did, they were able to hold off, like, as far as south as Thebes, but not quite, you know. It is quite remarkable that the Egyptians eventually turned the tide in this situation, because look at this. The Kingdom of Kush, right here, start pushing in, and then you have little Thebes, and then Dynasty of the Hyksos. And so it's kind of wild that the Egyptians eventually were able to turn the tide, which makes me wonder. Oh, and it makes me wonder how the crap the Egyptians didn't completely get wiped out. Alright. Yeah, the whole of Egypt was not conquered. Know why? As far as I'm aware. Alright. That's interesting. All of this is contested. Wait, all of what? Which part? All of what? The regular conflicts? Or just this? Or the monuments is? We ruled by the exit. Likely confined to the eastern delta. And their control over Middle Egypt remains unclear. Well, fair enough. I mean, however, you know, just so we remind ourselves that not everything is set in stone yet. Not yet. And will it ever be? We don't know. He's set in semi-dry clay. It's set in clay. You can always wet it again and maybe add more. Can you? Probably. Well, I think until you fire it, right? Like you have to heat treat it with fire, and then after that, then it's set. But before then, you can still make edits, or maybe re-wet the clay before you fire it. All right, trade with Caden is said to have been intensive. Intensive? Not extensive? What the hell does intensive mean? Like intentional? I know extensive, but what is intensive? Like intense? Intensive. It's an interesting word. What do you mean? Concentrated on a single area or subject, or into a short time, very thorough or vigorous. Not sure what they're, I like how they put it in quotes. Who are, okay. Cyprus. Interesting. Intensive. With many imports. Origins of dynasty, which is important. Kind of reestablishing what we know. Lapis lazuli. It is a beautiful, beautiful blue rock. Or gem? Is it considered a gem? It's a metamorphic rock, semi-precious stone. Look at that. That's beautiful right there. Gorgeous, gorgeous. You know, it kind of does deserve the snazzy, fancy name of lapis lazuli. Just look at it. It's beautiful. All right. Turquoise. Turquoise is still pretty dope. I really like that color. Anyway, the Camo Stele. Okay. Hmm. I don't know if Cyprus has anything to do with all this, but, or I mean, for our purposes at least. Mm. They ruled without acknowledging Ra. I thought a lot of their I thought a lot of their scarabs were like Son of Ra. I could have sworn that they see the relation of the 15th dynasty to militaries was ambiguous, and they are said by commentators. Oh, from the 18th dynasty. Okay, so later Egyptians were like they ruled without acknowledging Ra. Okay, Egypt. Okay, 18th dynasty. Okay, propaganda. Really? Well, destroyed the monuments or sold them as like it's like war spoils, you know? Hey, I think this yeah, we'll throw it in there just to show how much disdain the Egyptians had for the Hyksos. And shepherds. They didn't like shepherds. You know, this is clear indication. Uh, I could have sworn they a lot of them had like Son of Ra on their scarab. Am I crazy? Hold on, like that has Hyksos. Do. Maybe they didn't acknowledge Ra the way that the way they're supposed to. Mm, where was it? Am I crazy? Maybe. Hmm. Hold on. Was it later? Or maybe it was just a one-off. Maybe I'm just the one whom. What is this like? Re? Like Re? Ra? Re? Anyway, has cause to be strong. Like there's some, indication. You know. Also, where exactly do they place the Amorites here? This is not. Is this? Oh, where the crap are the Amorites? Um, Babylonia, Amorite, Syria, Hurrians, Hittites, Elam, Apu. This is not really helping. Maybe Amorite is Amaruru? Amorite? Amaruru? From like modern day Syria-ish? So what time period is this? Um, various Amorite states. Oh, I guess the Amorites are all of these are Amorite states? Alright, is Amorite just a seems kind of extensive? Seems like a really overarching term then. Emerged in Western Mesopotamia, actually appearing in Sumerian records. They expanded ruled most parts of Egypt. When did they rule parts of Egypt? In the 21st century to the start of the 60s. Maybe they're talking about like with the Hyksos invasion. They were likely part of the layer Hyksos. Amaru and okay. Oh, Amaruru. Amawuwu. Amaruru. Such a goofy word. Those. Martu is easier to say. Martu. Okay. Martu. Let's see here. Mari. Ruru. Huh. I didn't realize the Amorites were such a. I honestly, up until this second, I thought they were a smaller group of people. You know? I didn't realize they were such a widespread group. Mm, impressive. Most impressive. Hmm. Yes. Hmm. Okay. Was tested. Closely related to Canaanite, Aramaic. Da, da, da. Hmm. Anyway. All right, let's get back to this. Yeah, I believe son of Ra is. Oh, where is it? Oh yeah, it's like the duck with the sun disk above it, or goose with the sun disk above it. Yeah. So I believe if we go back, look at some of these, you might see that on their seals. Yeah, see, there's the sun disk at the tail end of the goose. It's like nearby some of them. Okay, that, no, negative, negative. Okay, so maybe it's not as prolific as I actually thought. Mm, let's see here. Yeah, see right there, on the right. Actually, I should have my cursor. Yeah, on the right where they have like that goose, or maybe that's not a goose. Maybe that's a stork of some kind, or a heron, or something of the sort. Anyway, the bird, it's not clearly not a falcon. And then you have the disc next to it. That's like Son of Ra, from my understanding at least. So some of them used it, which is interesting to kind of show how quickly some of them chose to take on those monikers, those like identifying markers. Um, was this? Well, if we go through all these, maybe this is where again, I'm swear it was like at least half of their scarabs had that. Now I'm like, what was what was I thinking at the time? This is why we go back through. This is why we go back through. Mm, hmm. Can't see crap on that. Yeah, see, Son of Ra, Kion, living forever. Which one was he in this situation? Okay, it's all the way down here. So, I guess took some time for it to really kind of take hold the more Egyptian style things. But they're already, by the second dude, they're already using scarabs and hieroglyphs. When in Rome, or in this case, when in Egypt. So even on the dagger hilt, you see the bird with the sun disk on the left. And here, the sun disk is kind of off on the bottom right. I don't know if that changes the meaning though, but I assume it's fine. 'Cause it does seem sometimes it's like put above, they'll put it off to the side. Alright, let's see. Let's go. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. I'm getting distracted. Okay. So they had much, seems like they had longer, more stable rulership. You know, you got ruled for 19 years, according to Manetho at least. Which, you know, take with a grain of salt. Um, 10 plus years, 40 plus years, that's impressive. Yeah. A lot better than what was occurring beforehand, let me tell you. Alright. Okay. 61 years, gosh darn it, that's wild. 49, 284 years? That doesn't work. 253 years. But according to this, they only ruled for like 100 years. That's wild. Who knows, man? This is where like, according to Manetho, it's like maybe 40 years, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I guess we can go through these, see if there's anything worth mentioning. I think we're good on this front. And it is thought to have used tile hexes or banned for invade the whole of Egypt. And that's an interesting sort of instance because you're also trying to get like the Egyptians on board with your rulership. I'm sure the local um Canaanites in the region when yeah, it's like, yeah, call yourself Hyksos. You're Hyksos, that's fine. It's our designation, but I'm sure if you're probably trying to portray yourself as more cultural, at least culturally Egyptian to the Egyptians you're trying to conquer and rule over. Known to have used the naming Hyksos. Yeah, so that's important. Um, mm, okay, let's save this. All right. I don't know if there's anything here really that is important. Um, um, yeah, say 240,000 men. Wild. Hmm, Um, yeah, I don't think we're really gonna find anything here of importance or anything that I really need to like save as far as yeah, I believe I remember looking through all this and be like, interesting, but not relevant to our purposes. All right. right. Do I need to get into anything else here? I think this is a fair time to call it for today. Yeah, because then we're gonna get into the reconquest by the Egyptians, and then the eventual, um, basically the best lead, in my opinion, for when the Exodus took place. And that is quite dense. Yeah. So I'm going to save that for Thursday. All right. Well, I hope you guys have a great day. Love yourselves, love your family, love your friends. Have grace, have mercy, all that goodness. And I'll see you guys next time.